Hello, my name is Rita. I am from Markham, Ontario. Today, I'm going to show you how to make chi kofte. So what you will need, the ingredients are at least half a kilo of flank steak, fresh flank steak, some table salt, sea salt. We're gonna need either dried basil or if you have fresh basil, one or the other. We will need pepper. We will need some fresh pepper and pepper paste. We will need fine bulgur, it's cracked wheat. And we will need cumin, amazing smell, and onion, which I've already diced it, and red pepper, Aleppo pepper, Middle Eastern pepper, red dried pepper. We also, for garnishing at the end, we will be using parsley and some onions, and I've already gone ahead and chopped them for you. There's three parts in making chi kofte. The first part is, and the most important part, is to deal with the meat. The second part would be on how to make the chi kofte itself, and the finale is, of course, the presentation with everything else. Chi kofte is made with raw meat. So you might be questioning and asking, are we going to be eating raw meat? The answer is yes. I know. Sorry. We sometimes call it the Armenian sushi because it's raw. But it's the way you handle the meat that is so very important. Okay, and that's why I want to take extra 2 minutes to explain how we're going to do it. This is a piece of flank steak. It's just over, it's 0.6 kilograms. The important part is that we need to shave off the fat, the white fat that you see, and also the veins in between. Now, there's two ways you can do this. You can either do it like as you see, you shave it off, but it's probably better if it's also in frozen version.
What did you freeze?
Oh, okay. Great question. So handling raw meat is a delicate matter, and we want to keep the meat always cold. The chi kofte has to be from first phase to second to the presentation, fairly quickly without stopping because you are working with raw meat. So I've frozen the meat to make sure it's nice and cold. And by the time the meat goes through this food processor, it's still nice and cold. In fact, one more ingredient, as I am processing the meat, I add ice cubes because I want to make sure from A to Z the meat is in cold state. So I've gone ahead actually and frozen another piece for you. Okay. So once again, it's important that we take out the fat. If you see the fat, the white part, you have to take it out. What we're going to do is put the flank steak, cut it into some squares and slices, and make it go through the food processor. And if you see any of the veins, take it out. I mean, when you're purchasing the flank steak, make sure that it's a good quality. The size is important because it depends how much you want to make to serve. So generally 500 grams and 2 cups of bulgur are generally sufficient. So as you can see, I'm going to try to take that out, the vein part. As you are selecting the meat, try to make it more red because ultimately the final product or final presentation, you want the chi kofte to be nice and red. I've made chi kofte since I was a small girl. That was my way of enticing my uncle to come to our home for dinner. I would say, Uncle Boros, I'm making chi kofte. And he would say, Wonderful, Rita. I'm coming over right now. So I made sure I made every weekend. Chi Kofte is a delicacy. It's not made all the time. It's a very special food and, happy occasions. And I'm going to add some ice too to make sure it's nice and cold. As I said, we want to make sure the meat is kept nice and cold. I'm dicing it because it's so much easier to work it in the food processor. When I prepare chi kofte for a guest, this phase of preparation, I do it before anybody comes. I don't want anybody to see this mess. Okay, so I'm gonna wash my hands, sorry. We're now going to process the meat. Now, this is one flank steak. While I'm processing it, we're gonna add a bit of salt. We're gonna add a little bit of basil and the pepper. These things, because we want to make sure the color of the meat maintains to be a nice rich red. I'm gonna add. Okay, so we are now going to process the meat and get it all ready. You would like to scrape down because you want to use every little piece of the meat. I'm going to add actually the remaining meat as well. Here we go again. We have to process the meat until it's very, very fine. So here we go. You might wonder what that noise was also. Don't forget to add ice cubes as you are processing the meat because you want to make sure the meat is nice and cold, not warm. Okay, let's check it out again. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in a plate. Now I'm going to take this out, and at this point I prepare the meat and put it on a nice dish, and we keep it in the refrigerator until everything else is prepared and ready. And I put a saran wrap on it and refrigerate it until I'm prepared. I got to clean up my countertop a little bit here. Part B, here we go. So the meat is ready. It's in the refrigerator. And this is 2 cups of bulgur. And we're going to add some water to this. We want to soak it a little bit. We sprinkle some water. We're going to add some cumin, some salt, some pepper. Okay, so some salt. We call it achki chapov. So depends how much you have, and you can add it if you wish at the end. We're going to add some cumin. Again, achki chapov. Here we go. Oh yes. Don't forget, bulgur is very dry. It's got to be a little bit moist because I have to work it in now. So I'm going to add a little bit of pepper paste. Now, you need some force. This is the key part of making the chi kofte. So I'm going to put a towel underneath my tray because otherwise it moves. Here we go. So you need both hands, and you have to kind of work the bulgur. So one hand holds it, and the other one kind of, you have to rub. You're rubbing the bulgur against the bulgur. You know how you do laundry? Oh, well, used to do laundry by hand. So you have to rub the bulgur against each other because the bulgur itself is very hard, and it's not pleasant eating it like that. So you want to make it softer. I'm going to add now some onions at this point. I'm going to add some onions into this. And I'm going to add some water again. Sprinkle some water. And continue working. So the story goes, as my mother was teaching me, pretty much your knuckles will turn red because you're rubbing the cracked wheat against each other, and of course your knuckles on your hands turn pitch red at the end. Sometimes, actually most of the time, in order to give some more force, we actually put this tray on the chair. So because I'm going on my tiptoes to give force. So this is the part where you think that it's ready to go, and then you should do a little bit more. Okay, we are ready. Just going to wash my hands and get into it again. Now we are going to mix. We took the meat out from the refrigerator, and we are going to be mixing it with the cracked wheat that we have prepared. And I also have a bowl of water ready with ice to make sure the water is cold. It's best to keep a little bit of the bulgur on the side, and then you work it in depending on how much meaty or less meaty you want. Because sometimes, if depending on the size of the meat that you had, maybe you don't need 2 cups of bulgur. So it's all ready. It's on the side waiting. As you can see, now it's becoming more smooth, soft. And add some water, just as you go. You're gonna make it like a little ball soon. At this point, before you put it on the table, you want to taste to see 2 things. Number 1, is the salt okay? And number 2, if you like to add some spicy red pepper, but some people like it more hot, you can either put it in the mixture now or leave it on the table for everyone to serve themselves. Now, when do you know that it's ready? It's nice and soft, nice and moist. As you can see, the way where we started off with and where we are now, as you can see, it's one ball. So I'm going to show you how to do the 2 common ways of presenting it to the dinner table. So you get the chikufte that's ready to go. Keep your hands always moist with water. And so we fill the plate with bite-sized chikufte. We try to keep it the same size. So not one gigantic size and the other one small. So you want to keep it the presentation equal. So I'm going as fast as I can. This is where everybody's like rushing, hurry, hurry, hurry. We are hungry. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's various versions of making chikufte, and of course, various versions of the presentation. This is one sample of the presentation. This is how my mother taught me. There we go. As you can see, I had a plan. Now I'm going to show you how to do the easy version. So you get a little ball. So some people don't want the individual bite sizes. Some do because they don't want to eat the whole thing. You can share this. You know, each person gets a little bit. But let's say you have a chikufte lover and you flatten it out on the plate that belongs to the person. Or if it's a big one, then they can share, you can cut it out. Now at this point, and I'm going to show you how to decorate it and ready to go on the table. This is the final touches now. This is where the presentation means. So the fork is used just to make some engravings on the flat one, of course. And the reason being is we add a little bit of olive oil, actually. Voila. So olive oil a little bit, sprinkle on top. We need some cumin. Sprinkle cumin on top, but the final finishes. Some people like cumin here too, some not. Depends if you like it or not, but you can. And then you can finish off with some parsley, chopped parsley. Sprinkle it up, nice and even. And it's just a presentation. And chopped up green onions. Well, you can add some to this too, why not? Depends if you like it or not. There you go. All right. Yeah. Pari ako, Jack.